Hello, this is Wmpyr here to show you guys my Twitter channel. My Twitter channel is more for my Japanese audience, and my Instagram is a little bit more for my English-speaking audience. But I'm really not active as much on my Instagram. But I am a lot more active on my Twitter, and I just wanted to show you guys some of the stuff that's going on here. So the first thing is, out of the blue, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, Professor Bram Frank contacted me, and once in a blue moon, he shows me what's going on in his life. And once again, here we see more of his designs being used by other knife makers, knife companies. And I think that's awesome because, finally, like, people are seeing the merits to his designs. And yeah, so you could see right here that I included the uh, how do you call it, the illustration on the concept design right there that he also sent me. And you can see that this is a freaking beast of a fixed blade, but it is still very much has that Professor Bram Frank style of the knife right there because of the ramp and everything. So yeah, there's something very, very cool. And for me, it's been great having Professor Bram Frank's friendship and support because his lineage is actually the lineage that I give like the most credit to in a way, which is the Professor Remy Pressas lineage. I did train in other styles of Escrima, Kali, and Arnis, but my main one that I keep going back to is the Professor Remy Pressas. It's just the one that it was the first one that I started off with, so it ended up being my main. And when I see Professor Bram Frank's designs or his teachings, and then as me just going through on my own because I'm not with any kind of affiliation now, just remembering the stuff that I did, and then I go, oh, that makes sense because our lineage is the same. So it's really nice just having that kind of connection there. But anyway, moving on here. This is one that I also posted on my Instagram, an English version of this. It's basically me showing or talking about the Heaven Six. When you first learn it, you do it in the air, you memorize it, you get practice, and then you go to a partner drill. And when you start doing it as a partner drill, you move around. So I wouldn't say footwork, but you add movement, and then maybe you do level change, where right here you can see I'm on one knee. Some people go all the way down, but that's really the extent, and maybe you'll start mixing it with like Heaven and Earth or Earth 6 or some of the other double stick partner drills. But that's really the extent. That's it. And I think that's a darn shame. And speaking of, going back to Professor Remy Pressas, he was the one that said, make it your own. So he was all about for you to evolve it. And evolve, I mean, adapt it to yourself. That's what I mean. Evolve is you adapt to the new environment. The new environment is you and, however you're going to use it. So this is me sharing some of the ways that I evolved it. The first one you can see is I'm using real double machetes on a tire. And, full contact was a big part of my training. So I wanted to be able to use these skills in full contact. So I'm trying to test my cardio and intensity. Can I go for at least 3 minutes? And the machetes are heavier than the sticks, so it really challenges that. You got to pace yourself, but I'm trying to use combat force, so trying to make sure that the machetes are making solid enough contact. And actually, when I was using live blades on the tire, whether it was a knife or the machete, the blade edge would actually chip and fly at me, and it would dig into my skin. So definitely you have to wear eye protection, but that's the kind of experience you want to go through, because if you really want to use this stuff for combat, you need to get used to combat force, and that's part of the program. So the next one is, once again, full contact was a big deal. So I'm wearing boxing gloves. My student Kevin here is also wearing boxing gloves. We were doing the Heaven Six offensively and defensively. Defensively, if you're going to do it defensively, you have to kind of modify the Heaven Six form to where it's more like a boxing guard protecting your head, but you're still doing the Heaven Six. And I found that doing it real tight and high up like that, that also helped with my knife work. But yeah, once again, that's a different kind of application that we're doing there. And then the next one was really working on the empty hand aspect. So actually making contact on a punching bag. This is good training to do that on the punching bag. And not only that, I also used a reflex bag. The main thing is make real contact, folks. And here, to really get down the empty hand techniques, because that's the way it was taught to me, that all the stuff that we do with the sticks can be used for blades, but it can also be used for empty hand. So then I was like, well, let's make that happen. And you have to practice it though. It's not automatically. So I was doing here open hand strikes, forearm strikes, and elbow strikes on the punching bag. So you want to make sure you include, all of that, palm strikes, chops, claws, hammer fists, all that stuff, not just punches. So then the next part here, which is the middle photo on the bottom row, I'm now using a knife in the reverse grip. Yes, it's a training knife, and I'm doing that on my stick man. So, you experiment with all kinds of stuff. Once again, you want to be able to make contact. I use cardboard boxes. I used old sofas, old chairs that were thrown out. Those are the kinds of things you want to practice on and make actual contact. And there I'm doing the Heaven Six, but in the reverse grip. Of course, standard grip too. You try every grip and there are actually a ton of grips. And then the last photo on the bottom is now it's a Heaven Six partner drill, but we're putting in the element of chaos. It is controlled chaos, so we don't get hurt. And what we're doing here is we're adding a thrust attack randomly. I don't know when my partner's going to do it. My partner has no idea when I'm going to do it. And we're doing just the Heaven Six drill that everybody does, but by adding this controlled chaos in there, it really starts to make it a lot more realistic. And to me, it evolves and improves the drill tremendously. So this is just a guide. There's more stuff that I've done, more stuff that I'm working on, but these are the main ones that I've done so far. There was one that I didn't mention, and I've mentioned before in my videos, was you're doing the Heaven Six partner drill, and I put water bottles all over the floor. So you have to be aware of the terrain. You have to be aware of where you're placing your foot, That's the kind of thing. And then I remember as my students got better at that, I moved it up to, instead of water bottles, it was actually weights. So you could stub your toe, And then I've seen some crazy stuff in the Philippines where they were Black Eagle Escrima people had broken glass on the dirt ground, and they were barefoot, if not wearing just sandals, and that is insane. But see, there's many ways that you could evolve, progress these drills, and that is something that I've been really, really focusing on and hounding on you guys is, don't just get comfortable with the drills the way they are, and don't just be protected by the pattern. Break the patterns, but safety, remember, is the most important thing. Okay, so then the next one, this is, I believe it was a video going around social media that was quite popular. Is the impression that I got. And basically, when I scrolled down and I saw what people were saying, people were like, does this move really work? And people were going, no, it would never work, and this and that. And I beg to differ. You really can't count out a move. Remember, in the early UFCs, people were like, high kicks don't work. Well, that changed. You know, people were like, at first people were like, forget high kicks. They were saying kicking doesn't work, period. And then people started saying, you know what, the low kicks work. And then they go, you know what, no, kicks work. And so all that changed, okay? All that changes. So I wouldn't count out a technique. It's really not about does the technique work or not work. To me, it's always been what do you do? What have you done to make the technique work? What have you done to make sure the technique doesn't fail? What have you done when the technique fails that you could still, be on top, that you could still, accomplish your goal, whether it is to survive, get away, or, be dominant, whatever it is, those things are way, way, way more important. And it's really not about the technique itself. Okay. The world is huge. Right when you think a backflip kick would never work, there's someone, I guarantee you, on the opposite side of the world, that's their favorite move, and they can make it work in a street fight, and they're awesome at it. So you never freaking know. So I just wanted to get that, to help people understand that mindset, that it's not the technique. And then people say, well, it's not the technique or the style, it's the individual. I really didn't like that answer, and that's why I did this. I said it's not the individual, is it? Because I mean, in a broad way, sure, it's what the individual does, but then what exactly do they do? What do successful people do? And that's what I want to talk about. Like, for example, Mike Tyson is a very easy example. Mike Tyson learned the punches that everyone else learned: jab, cross, hook, uppercut, overhand. Every boxer knows that. What did he do to make those moves more successful when he uses them? What did he do? And he learned a style. It's called the peekaboo style, which he learned from Cus D'Amato. It's real famous, right? That's a famous fact. Number two is he trained like a madman. He trained like it's legendary. How hard he trained is legendary. So he changed his body, his physique, into like superhuman tank, right? So those are the two things. He's done more things, but he did those two main things. And so I recommend you do the same thing. Get a freaking style. Make a system. A system is better than just learn the technique. If all you do is, this girl teaches this technique in this video, if all you do is memorize that technique and then practice it, it's just not enough. That's just the facts. Okay. So I hope that helps. And that's why I posted this and even made a video about it. So this next one right here is someone reposted for me this video that I uploaded on my YouTube channel. And it was basically just me. I called it the Heaven 6 Turbo. So we're revving it up, right? Now, if you watch the video, I don't hurt my student, and I incrementally, gradually speed it up. And as I did that, I remember telling him, breathe, focus, relax, but maintain the power, kind of thing, and sped it up. And he was in the zone, and I feel like that's really good training. As long as you don't get hurt, that's really good training, because in real life it's going to be intense. So this helps you deal with the intensity, helps you learn how to zone out, focus, and deal with the adrenaline, to not just let the adrenaline completely, get this adrenaline dump and it just wears you out, so to control that, I think this kind of training really, really helps. So yeah, so that's another thing you could do with a Heaven 6. And here we go. This is just me one night at the Goodwill, and I just saw this champion belt, and I've always wanted a belt, so I did a quick selfie right there. All right, so then this next one right here, this is another one I put up talking about if you want your stuff to work, you need to simplify, is what Bruce Lee talked about, is you need to simplify. So this is me talking about sombrata, okay? Everyone and their mother does sombrata today. It's a very popular drill. You look up sombrata on YouTube. There's tons of videos on it. I don't believe I'm not against sombrata, you know, but I am against practicing sombrata and not knowing what the hell it's for, or not being able to apply it. You get really really good at this partner drill, and it's a dance, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to use it for self-defense or for martial arts or combat, then there's a big problem because you just memorized a dance routine and you can't use it. And if you try to use it, it's actually going to get you in trouble because the way sombrata is pretty much it's medium range and going into close range. So if you do sombrata at that range, and that's the way you've done muscle memory, because that's what you've done repetitions, then in a real situation, that's what you're going to go for, and that is the wrong place to be. And you're going to at the very least trade with the opponent, and that makes absolutely no sense. So what I am talking about here is sombrata has, I don't know how many techniques in there, because you can include the offensive techniques. I think there's like 5, and then the defensive counterparts, so that's another 5. So it's like what, 10 techniques that you're doing in there, right? If I'm not mistaken. So if that's what you're doing, that's 10 techniques. I'd rather you just simplify and just, I'm going to attack you by hitting you on the head, and you're going to do the roof block, and that's it. And we're just going to take turns. You're going to hit me in the head, I'm going to do the roof block. Now I'm going to hit you on your crown, you're going to do the roof block. And we just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that is way simpler. But now, because it's simple, we can make it more realistic. We could increase the speed, we could increase the force. Now the drill makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more practical. It's a lot more usable. It's not this complex, I don't know when to apply this. What's the strategy? I don't know anything about it. No, this is now a lot more, yeah, it's a lot more applicable. And that's why I broke apart. So that drill in particular that I just mentioned about hitting on the top of the head and then doing a roof block, the Dog Brothers was the first place that I saw it. Okay, they were teaching that partner drill, and I thought it was incredible. I thought it was a great partner drill, and I actually practiced it back in the day, and I was blown away by it. So here, using the same concept, which I don't know if the Dog Brothers, they use this simplicity concept, but what I'm doing here is I got sombrata and broke it apart, okay? And when you do that, then it was like, oh, is this where the Dog Brothers got that drill from? Maybe not, but it at least made sense to me, you know. So the other one that I highly recommend is I thrust attack at the opponent, and they do what I call stir the pot as a defense, and now they do the thrust attack back to me, and I do stir the pot, and we just go back and forth, back and forth. That's all we're doing. That's another really, really, really good practical drill where you could really put in some speed and force into it and get some more realistic type of feel. The other parts of the sombrata I am hesitant to apply because they start going into closer to like defang the snake stuff, which is, that's an area you need to really, really be careful, because then timing becomes huge. And obviously this is a drill where it's a continuous drill. It means the timing is kind of thrown out the window. So, and people might be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the real combat timing is not there. If you call this timing, then to me that's just the tempo, and to me that's not timing. That's a beat that we're just going back and forth, and that's easy to follow. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about timing. When is the right time to like do a triangle choke? When is the right time to do an arm bar? You know, that's what I'm talking about. So anyway, yeah, so to me this is another very, very important part of the revolution, Escrima revolution. And here we are, here I stab, and then he immediately stabbed back. I had no idea I told him stab whenever you want, do the thrust attack. He did it immediately after mine, which I guess, for him it was easier to do that way. So I guess that makes sense. But I didn't expect. I thought we were going to go back to the Heaven Six, do a couple of that, and then he was going to attack me. But no, he did it right away, and that's what's great about this drill. You just never know. So right there, I hop back. That is a real natural reaction. The hopping back and the immediately swat down, and that's what I tend to go back to. In a knife attack or any kind of attack, someone comes at me suddenly, it's going to be this kind of hopping movement, because why? Animals do it too. It's very natural. And swat down. How do you kill a fly or a mosquito? You swat it. So I mean, it's once again very natural stuff. I see my cat when I throw him those plushy mouse toys, he swats at it. So once again, my point is, it's a very natural movement. So the next here is, this is me. I said the evolution part is important. Don't be afraid to evolve. In other words, you have to experiment. So this is me experimenting, trying to do more of like a boxing type of training with the mitt work, where the pad work, the coach like brings out the pads, and then the boxer has to hit it in certain combinations. So this is kind of what I wanted to do, where my student could just get a ton of reps, and we do it for each other back and forth. That was the whole goal. So just trying out different things right here. I'm not saying this was this didn't necessarily blow me away, but the concept was what was important. Okay, so the next one right here is so we're going now to a knife and a short stick. So I have a short stick, and I have oh no, my bad. I have two short sticks, and my partner here, my student here has two training knives. There we go. I'm getting tongue twisted. My partner has double training knives, and I have double short sticks. And they're roughly about the same length, and we're just doing the Heaven Six. This really makes you focus on your accuracy. So just this alone, and then of course you can change the speed, make it a little faster and then come back down. But the main idea is just working on accuracy. So this is a very, very simple thing that anybody can do. Some of the other drills that I showed you guys, like for example, the double machete, I don't recommend you go to that. Just because you've been doing the Heaven Six for a little bit, you don't go to a life blade like that. You got to make sure that you've had ample training, that you have an instructor there, and all that, because safety comes first. But here, this is one that really doesn't take much. Okay, and it's very beneficial. So here. Right here, this is the force-to-force block that we're doing with the double stick is now here with what I call the defense bag. Okay, so the defense bag is something that we've been working on like crazy, because you see I'm wearing a belt bag in a real life situation. That is the actual belt bag that I've worn when I go out. So it has my wallet and my phone and all that stuff in there. And in a real life situation, I'm going to use my belt bag the same way. So, use what you got. And it's a lot of these belt bags are quick release. So I recommend a belt bag. I recommend one of these crossbody bags, and that's what we're training with. It is smaller, so hence, why we're going from normal size sticks to shorter sticks, and then to this. And then this is where I'm using a training knife, and my partner, my student here, is using a defense bag. And this is, to me, honestly, this is as realistic as of a training that you can get, other than just doing full contact, which full contact sparring is where you get hurt. So how can you train and not get hurt? How can you get as realistic as possible training without getting hurt, without going to full contact? And this is one of them. So I'm just boom. And yes, even this drill can be evolved, and we are still in the process of evolving and fine-tuning this drill, but it's an excellent drill. It's one of the most realistic drills I've ever seen. And I came up with this drill from the force-to-force block. And where does the force-to-force block come from? Well, it came from technique that I learned in Professor Remy Pressa's lineage, Arnis, and it was called the force-to-force block. And then from there, I personally saw that the force-to-force block was very similar to what I was doing, which is a swatting down motion when I was holding the the Muay Thai pads for my students. And then I was like, well, this just linked Escrima with full contact fighting, Muay Thai. So, because I don't know, what Muay Thai is like perfect for just full contact stuff. That is like almost a poster child for full contact fighting. And so is MMA, of course, and boxing and wrestling. But so anyway, yeah, I was like, this is it. This is the way to go. And so here we are many, many years later, because that was back in 2006 when I first opened my first martial arts school, dojo. And now I don't do that anymore, thankfully. I just do private and semi-private lessons. And yeah, I don't have to have the stress and worry of operating a school and paying the rent and worrying about money. So anyway, here, moving on, this is me talking about, now this is a completely different scenario, okay? So this is, notice, the knife is not in motion. Okay, the person has a knife and it's very threatening, and I've basically already given up. I've already surrendered, and I'm talking to the person and I'm trying to get them to change their mind. They already know that they're dominant. They already basically won this, right? So that's why they're not attacking me. They just have the knife out and they know they're the one in control. But when I see the opportunity, I'll grab the wrist, which is number 2, and go from the wrist grab. I'm going to go to the arm wrap immediately. And I said many times before in previous videos that going from 2 to 3, I did not know that you could instantly do that. And it took forever. It took many years to figure that out. I just thought it was 2 totally different situations, 2 totally different scenarios. Sometimes you end up in the guards, sometimes you end up in the mount. Sometimes you end up inside, that kind of thing. I didn't know that there was a transition. But once I learned that, here it is. Do the wrist grab. And then from the wrist grab, if you take too long, it'll turn into a tug of war, because they're not going to like it. They're going to pull their arm back. So before they get into a tug of war, because I don't want to go strength to strength, I immediately go into the arm wrap. In fact, I could kind of use their resistance to get the arm wrap. The arm wrap is much, much more secure. Once I get into the arm wrap, I could end up in a wrestling match. And you see my student is much stronger, much bigger, much heavier than me. And if I went into a wrestling match with him, it would be a big mistake. So from 3, I have to immediately go to 4. So once again, to go to 2, you got to immediately do it when you see the right time. And then from 2 to 3 is, forget timing. You immediately do it. And then from 3 to 4, same thing. I immediately start wrenching. So that's number 4. I'm cranking on his wrist. You immediately start wrenching. I'm not trying to submit him. I'm not trying to tap him out or trying to break anything. No, this is just to get him off balance. Because if he's off balance, he cannot punch me, he cannot headbutt me, he cannot knee me in the balls. It just makes all of those things harder for him to do. It's distracting. So I wrench as much as I can, as hard as I can, repeatedly, as quick as I can. And then from the wrenching, it takes me to the finger lock. The finger lock is where I do want to try to break the finger, okay? Break the finger, and that way his grip should already be starting to get loose from number 4. But by number 5, when I start attacking the finger, it's going to be much, much looser. And now it could take me to a disarm, or I could just get out of here, I'm constantly looking for a chance to just run away, to create distance and run away. So at number 1, if I can do that, I will. At number 2, if I can do that, I will. If number 3, if I can do that, I will. Number 4, if I can, I will. And number 5, if I can, I will. But obviously, the safest is to do it at number 1. If I could have, I already would have, but I didn't, obviously. And then probably number 5, where I already have the finger. Those are the 2 safest times in this particular sequence. But the main thing is, this is a completely different situation from this. Okay, this is, the person is attacking you. Okay, the person is already coming at you. They're throwing jabs or whatever. They're doing knife boxing or knife fencing, I don't care what, or just knife baseball, where they're swinging their bat, the knife like a bat. Whatever the case, they're coming at you already. Okay, so this right here is before or after, never during. Okay, this is the during. All right, so I hope that's super, super clear. And this is, to me, the biggest mistake that I see self-defense people, knife combat people, all these people teaching this kind of stuff. This is the biggest mistake that they make, and this is the biggest part where they're lacking. Technically, I see some holes in a lot of people's stuff, but not understanding the difference here, because you cannot catch that arm right here, this where I'm swinging this, and if you were to block it or catch it, I'm coming around it. I have enough training that I will come around and I will cut you. And it's really okay. So that I just said I have enough training. It doesn't even require that much training. Okay, it's not that difficult to do. So that's huge. And the main point is, you cannot catch it. You cannot catch my arm that's coming at you here. Okay, it's suicide to do it. So okay, so I already talked about that. And then this one right here is, once again, this is the Heaven 6. I'm doing the Heaven 6 on the reflex bag. So this is another thing that I was telling you guys, is you could do the Heaven 6, and then once it comes back, I'm doing an elbow to counter it. But that guard that I go into, I could start doing the Heaven 6 type of guard. But this is where I really started using the forearms, and I really, really discovered the awesomeness of the forearm. I know a lot of people, like people that use their hands and their feet, and then they discover the elbow, and they go, wow, I'm all about the elbow now. Well, I'm telling you right here, for me, I went through that phase, but even better than the elbow was the forearm. So I'm all about the forearms. Okay, so next is right here. So this is the reverse grip, Heaven 6 with the knife. And then now let's go to over here. This is the machete, double machete. These machetes are a little bit shorter than the ones that you saw before. And once again, I'm doing Heaven 6. Always wear eye protection. I mean, I'm putting in combat force. And like I said, blade edge, the edge of the blade chipped off of the tire. So it was flying back. And here, so I'm wearing a long sleeve to protect myself. And I believe it was cold. So yeah, now I'm going into bad marketing in the martial arts world. But yeah, so that was a video where I talked about bad marketing. But anyway, I think this is good enough. We just went over the 30-minute mark. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.